program. So I went to the conservatory and I followed the traditional path offered here in Belgium, supplementing with master classes, internship, private lessons, and then also postgraduate studies. So I started from years now, and I never finish, I think. So, voila.
That's really amazing.
Yeah, yeah. That's the story of my life, the piano, I think. Yeah.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
I
And
tried once, but it didn't
yeah,
work.
you tried to. Well, we were in conflict at the time, to be honest, at the adolescence period. I was like that. I doesn't want to work too much because it asks to have a certain discipline if you want to maintain a level. So sometimes, okay, you have up and down, like in life, usual. But I can't imagine myself without these instruments. It's like a companion. I call him like that. But at the same time, my influences in music started also during the adolescence. So I was divided between my classical practice with the repertoire like Chopin, Brahms, Rachmaninoff, Bach, and so on. But on the same time, as a teenage, I was attracted by the music of that period, and we were in the middle of the grunge music. So of course, I was all on the same time doing, band like all. And I discovered Tori Amos at that period, and it was for me like a revelation because she was the synthesis between the piano music, song, and rocking the music too. So if I have to mention some musicians that truly influenced me and truly influence what I'm doing today, I would mention Rachmaninoff, of course, Debussy, Satie, Chopin, but also Keith Jarrett, because it was also during my adolescence that I discovered that biggest talent for me on earth about piano music. And also Michael Nyman, because I was attracted to narrative music, so film music and jazz music. Tori Amos, Morphine, and all those other rock bands that I still listening to, actually.
And you play, as you mentioned, piano, cello, and also compose. How did you decide which instrument fits a project?
Well, I think the piano, as I told you, is my first companion because I think it's a good tool to start the composition. It's like the synthesis of an orchestra. You can make everything with it. So everything starts from the piano. Every musical act that I'm making starts from the piano. Comes from the piano, and especially because I like to play what I'm composing most of the time. So my first choice will always go to the piano, but not only. I started also a second instrument at 14, the cello. I was hesitating between drums because I like the rhythm and cello. But I was more fascinated by the string instrument and the using of the bow. So I choose the cello that one said that is the closest instrument to the human voice. So as I didn't want to sing, I was like that. Okay, I will use the cello. It will replace this function when I'm composing. So I had the cello in a classical trainee too. In the composition process, my first question will be why this needs to be done. For what is the ultimate goal, musical goal of this? What do you want to express, to feel, and to transmit as well? It's important. What style do you want to categorize in? So from all that question, I will make my choices. But I also want to use instruments that I don't play because I have my little favorites one. So when it's appropriate, I'm trying to give them a part in my music, like the vibraphone, the trumpet, electric guitars, double bass and bass that I really like, and of course, drums.
You've lived and worked in different countries. How does your environment influence your creativity?
Well, when you have the opportunity to travel, to live elsewhere, to play outside of your country, to discover other people, cultures, landscapes, you can't deny that all of this has an impact in your vision, in your feelings, in your perspectives, and that all of this will be reflected in your creative potential. Personally, I place a huge importance on being mobile. I need to move all the time and seeing the world and including different worlds into mine own. Even though I have a tendency towards isolation because I need to be alone. I also need loneliness and calm to create. The latest example is my last trip in Morocco. It inspired me to incorporate some of their culture in terms of sound into my own world. So I think it's important to be all the time open to something else and to move and to make a selection of what inspired you the most. And I'm actually currently working on for my next album, which is in production.
When you compose, what inspires you the most? Literature, music, emotions, or personal experiences?
Well, I think it's a mix of everything, even if at the beginning, emotions and my personal experience as the first key to tell a story, to express an idea or an impression. But I have this reflex to always wanting to go further than myself. So I will search something else to nourish my argument. And the literature, I think, is the first source that inspired me. That's a proof with my latest album, On the Edge of Sylvia, which is completely inspired by the American poetess Sylvia Plath. I wanted to make a tribute to literature in music, from a woman to another. But I also have worked on other writers. Many years ago, I was inspired by Truman Capote, Joseph Conrad. And actually, for my next album, I took poetry from an American lawyer and writer who died in 1945. It's Max Ehrmann. And I'm quite proud of me this time because I didn't touch nothing about the structure or the words of his of his poetry. So it's a complete musical vision of words that I'm working on. And literature has this ability of to structure me. It prevents me falling into an artistic chaos because sometimes I can be very messy. I'm a big reader too, so I like to be nourished by the vision of writers. So literature is like the invisible companion to my notes, to my scores. I could resume that like that.
And how do you decide which ideas become a full project?
Yeah, it depends. It depends of the start. For example, with one of my album about contemporary music, Vexations Revisited, it was first, yeah, it, it it depends really. When you are like me at the crossroads of several musical genres, like classical, contemporary music, jazz music, not because you are in the middle of a decision, but just because you want to stay in freedom of creativity, you will instinctively, but as currently as possible, embrace each element from these different genres and incorporate them into your own musical language. I hope it's not too long to explain, but that's that's also what makes you different and maybe unique, I hope. So in the case of Vexation Revisited, it was first a commission from a Belgian label to compose a reinterpretation of a work by the early 20th century French and pianist composer Eric Satie. That immediately resonated to my contemporary music side, which is finally the base of my of what I am in music and composition. But in the case of On the Edge of Sylvia, I wanted to give something more personal, where more than one influence are mixed. So I wanted to offer something very intimistic, melted by jazz music because I'm open to this, rock, indie rock music because I am listening to this, I like this, and it's a part of my life since my teenage, and classical music because I am, of course, a classical pianist from my roots. So um, it's more a question of choices all the time you have to make, and of course to be clear with the direction you will take, I think. I hope.
And how do you manage combining very different styles like classical and contemporary in one work?
Yeah, I hope I manage. That's more a question for the audience. Let's ask them if I manage that every well. Every well, it's a question of its inspiration first. Um, it's also a question of what characterizes you the most and represents you the most. But I think it's also a question of skills, of musical codes, of knowledge and balance you can have, and maybe artistic honesty. So if I manage all of my aspects in my album, it's because I'm very sensitive to be honest as well and not to pretend to be someone else or to pretend to use something that I can't use. For example, I'm very fan of soul music, but I don't have the voice, I don't have the keys, so I wouldn't try to compose something in soul music alone. Uh, that's also kind of recognizing your own limits, um, and maybe remaining very attentive to maintain the balance and the precision in composition and your artistic honesty. That's why sometimes I'm inviting some other musicians who are very different from my world to complete me, yeah. And it's also, I think, a question of ego as well. If you recognize that, okay, I like this kind of music, but I'm not practicing, I don't know everything. For example, I really like metal drum patterns. And I have studied them. I've listened hours and after hours, and I think they are incredible physically because it's a real technique, and musically too because they have to be very focused, very clear, very systematic. But I would like to incorporate that kind of sounds in my music, but I would never try it alone to write a leitmotiv like that. No, I can't.
I hope to see that soon.
Yeah. You will hear. I'm determined, so
And you've got worked with many artists. What do you learn from collaborations that you can't achieve alone, apart from what you've said?
yes. So as I told most of the time, if I call upon other artists, it's in a way they can complement me while also joining me maybe in my delirium. I don't know. So sometimes this brings you good surprises. I have learned that it can give you an unsuspected view of yourself, because they can make appear something you have inside of you, but you didn't know you have it. The key, as in other topic, is to find the right person, to be in front of the right person, to dive into this. And then you can never be disappointed. I learned that through all my collaboration, and I also learned not to be too shy when you feel there is something to do with someone in particular. So be curious and not being too shy were two elements that I learned to go again and again into my collaboration.
And about your collaboration with Ken Stringfellow, how did this collaboration start and what drew you to work with him?
Well, we first met with Ken in 2019 when he was after one of his concerts here in Brussels. I was shy, so but we had a talk after the concert during the merge, and we had exchange about his music, but also about my music. And I was quite surprised because I was like that. Would it be interested by my kind of profile? I'm a pianist, a classical one, but he was. So he asked me to send him my music. He was curious and interested, and I was like that. Oh, great! So a few months after, he contacted me again because he had another concert in Brussels and asked me to join him to do this concert. And I was like that, okay, I will accompany him with my piano as usual, as for everyone. But no, he asked me to think without my piano, naked in front of everyone with my microphone only, and was like shocked. And you say, wow, he's trusting me so much. So I felt very lucky, and I didn't dare to refuse, of course. So I did it, and I was very surprised because he gave me a kind of gift doing that by being open and being you know, when someone is trusting you inside his own work, that's a big gift. That means a lot. And I didn't want to let this disappear. So I was like that. I think we will make something else after. I didn't know that period what. I didn't know yet what, but it was in my head, because when you are in front of that kind of person, you know you can't do only one thing. It's a story with reflected through years. So, and we are here today.
And Ken is known for his sensitivity as a musician. Which aspects of his music or personality have influenced you during your work together?
Yes, so about his personality, as I just talked about, I think it's first is kindness, it's approachability, is openness to other music genres and styles, and the climate of trust he established with me from the beginning. And also the lack of ego, because you know in hearts a lot of people are always focused on their ego. It's me first, it's my work first. But here I was in front of someone who was okay, it was easy, very fluid to talk together. So that kind of aspect give me the envy to work with him. That's the first thing, and it has an impact in the music we have made together. I think you can hear it that we are in balance. There is no one more than the other, even when I'm just a vocal background. I hope it reflects in the music we made together, that the relation between us is very professional but very respectful, and it's the key because I couldn't work with an artist with an ego, even if it's the best musician of the world. I couldn't. So the human aspect is very important for me. Musically, of course, it's his voice. He has an incredible voice, and I'm all the time very attentive, sensitive to specific voices, feminine or masculine, doesn't matter. And with Ken, I heard immediately that he has this kind of lead voice that you can recognize immediately when you know his work. So, and he has also this ability of improvisation and harmonization between different voices, and I like this aspect in the song. So I was like that. Yes, I have to catch him, and yeah. So um, Ken's voice was a perfect fit for my album On the Edge of Sylvia. And in fact, Mirror, the song he's singing in my album, was the first I composed. So it was 5 years ago already. It was during the COVID period. So first we worked separated, and it works really good. He was sending me his voices files, and I was talking with him. Okay, I would like this, like that, and he was proposing something new, because when I'm asking something to an artist, I don't want to forgive his personality. It's a part of what he can give to me. So it's important to let okay, I have my plan, I have my music in my head, but if I'm asking something to someone else, it's also because it's different. So you have to let this open, and it's more rich after. So the first version of Mirror, the studio version, was very rich, and after we make some lives that gave me the envy to make an acoustic version, which was released a few weeks ago. So in this version of Mirror, my voice interacted me with his voice more, and I wanted something more acoustic, more raw, and more in the kind of folk music that I never tried to do. And I think it was a good compromise to pursue our collaboration. But to be honest, I hope it's not the last thing we will make together. The future will tell us, but I already have my next idea with Ken.
I'm sure you will do more collaborations,
Yeah, me too.
and I will be there to hear
Yeah,
them.
thank you.
And for people following your career, what do you think they should know about your approach to creating music?
Yeah, I can understand that sometimes from the outside I can appear quite confusing as a classical trained pianist who's composed narrative music, accompanied sometimes by a jazz drummer, a rock guitarist, a folk singer, and so on. Sometimes it can be, oh, what is she doing? Who is she? Who is she is the first question. What is she doing? Who is she? But, well, what does it mean? In my case, I'm trying to bring all the time a rock tension in my music, because I think I'm a little like that personally. That's my mentality. So I'm trying to bring a rock tension within a spirit of jazz freedom, because it inspired me too. And everything always rooted in poetic emotion, because literature is present, because emotions are important in music. And I can say that my music has several lives, and that's what defines it the most. So if you want to know me, listen to my music. Maybe you will be surprised. I hope you won't be disappointed, but be curious, and don't be afraid by the complexity of the names of the genres. It reminds me that maybe 15 years ago, I met a bassist that I really liked. It's Melissa Aufdermo. I don't know if you know.
Mm,
She was the bassist of Smashing Pumpkins, the bass
ah,
player,
okay.
all Smash. So I was like, oh, okay. I had the occasion to talk with her uh, in a backstage, and I introduced myself by saying, "Oh, I'm just a classical pianist," and she said, "So what? Music has no borders, so musicians has to have no borders too." And I always remind that it has an impact for 15 years now. That okay, I won't close the doors because people want you to be on the code on something very strictly. No, I'm various. My music has several lives, and I think like that I can represent myself the most.
On the Edge of Sylvia is inspired by Sylvia Plath, as you said, poetry. What was the most challenging and rewarding part of turning poetry into music?
Yes, first of all, I wanted to make a piano and a voice songbook uh, based on the original text of Sylvia Plath, but I couldn't have the rights. So I had to rethought the whole project. And as I'm very determined and I just want to go further, I'm like that. I didn't want to abandon the idea, so I was like that. Okay, I will make something very different from the start, from the beginning, but maybe there is something that I can reach. So I choose the fact to write myself the answers to her text, her poetry. So it was like a correspondence between her and between Sylvia Plath and me, with many years between us, from a woman to another, from a woman from that period to another, from a musician to a writer. And the big challenge for me was to being myself a poet. I don't know if I'm a good one because it's in English, it's not my mother tongue, but I decided to write my lyrics like a poetry. So I had to be very precise, to dive into the skills of writing, because it was also the first time I was writing that kind of lyrics. So it was the first challenge for me being a writer. And the second one was to, inside the lyrics, make the connection with the audience, that they will understand that it's not a rewriting of Sylvia Plath's text, but more my vision, my idea of what she wanted to tell in this poetry. My perception of it, that's better. That's why you have some songs, because I wanted to answer to her by words. And there is also some instrumental music, because as I am more an instrumental musician, I wanted to keep this dimension in my album and to answer to her with notes by scores. And with music, it was more about the emotional landscape I can give around their text. That's why it's a completely mixed album between jazz, trio, quartet, and folk songs, rock songs. So, and I hope it's okay.
Oh, you should write a book with your lyrics or something like that.
Yeah, maybe.
It would be great.
Thank you.
And do you have any upcoming projects or collaborations you can share?
Yes, of course. I'm all the time doing something new. And to be honest, uh, if I could, I would have already 5 albums more ready. but it's always a question of time, of budgets, and so on, of occasions. But I'm actually in the production phase of my next album, which will have a more rather cinematic atmosphere. So it will be more about instrumental music, of course, with the piano in the center as always. But I plan to include some new elements in music that I never used. I was talking before about the drums, metal drums patterns. So that's why I was studying all of that. And I hope everything will be ready for the middle of the next year. I hope. I'm keeping my fingers crossed for
It
that.
will be. It will be.
Yeah. I will let you know, be sure.
Yes, 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 please. And how do you see your music evolving in the next 5, 10 years?
That's a difficult question to answer to because things are changing so fast and you don't know how it can be even in 1 year. Um, I hope I will still be able to propose my music because actually with the political financial context here in Belgium in particular, it's more and more difficult to live as a musician only. So it's always a question of being concrete and think about the material facts of the material side of the music, but you can't deny what you are. So it's also a question of, okay, I'm not someone else. I still have something to say. So I hope that my music will still exist in live, but not also. And I hope maybe with the new technologies, maybe with AI too. That's a special question, but I hope, yes, I hope that AI will be like a complement for all dinosaurs like me who are still using paper to write the notes. So I hope my music will evolve with the technology, maybe with the technology of broadcasting or maybe with maybe the Atmos technology that kind of you can open your ears to another kind of listening to the music. And I hope my music will be integrated to that course of new technologies of listening music because it can bring maybe something very important. It opens window and you have to run with your time. That's if you want to stay, you have to run with your time. So let's see, maybe in 5 years.
And what advice would you give to young musicians who want to keep their unique voice while exploring different styles?
I don't know if I'm a good advisor because even for myself, sometimes I get, am I able to give myself good advice? I don't know. But one key which worked for me, I think, uh, was about not trying to please others before you please yourself. That means you have to be honest, authentic, not forcing, not forcing thing, and also not comparing yourself to others because we are so many actually making music. It's good because that means that it's very open to everyone, but also that means that you can be very immersed, very hide by the others. So don't try to compare yourself, even especially when you are in a bad period. Sometimes you can be like that, and when you are looking what the other are doing, it's don't do that. If you are crossing a bad time, okay, cross this bad time, but keep going and stay open, curious, humble too. Keep working because it's not because you have finished your studies or you have all the latest equipment that you have in your hands, that means you have everything. Never. And last but not least, if deep down you, you have that feeling, you have that little inner voice telling you to take a certain direction, then listen to it and be determined to go in that direction, even if it often requires to being very patient. Things that I'm not very, but I have learned to be patient. So determined and passionate and authentic. I think that's the three key words for the next generation, but there may be further. I don't know.
And what book, album, or artist is influencing you the most right now?
Well, as I'm working on mine, I'm trying not to be polluted by the others, but I'm influenced actually by one of I don't know if you know Craig Armstrong. It's
Yes.
yeah, that's a composer more for film music, and he released many years ago an album which is called Nocturne for Piano. That's only piano music, but it's treated with especially aspects in the sound. Sometimes you can hear two pianos together, so by the same person, by the same musicians, and I'm really connected to that kind of work. And I'm also listening actually some bands like Gojira because of drums, to be honest. And I'm still listening to to my previous influences. So I know that this bass player Melissa Abdermo is preparing a memoir of her life, and so it gives me the envy to listen again to what she did in solo, because she had also a solo project. So I'm listening to that too. So you see, I'm still in the middle of rock music, instrumental music, contemporary. So it's my story.
But it's cool because you are oh, sorry you are able to do everything
I'm
everything that you
trying
want.
to. I'm trying to. Yeah. I'm trying to be. I'm trying not to lose myself too, and to take the best of all of this to make mine. Yeah.
And for you, what does it mean to create music in today's world?
That means you have to be very courageous, because musical sphere is not easy. You have to invest more at the beginning without any guarantee, without with a lot of risks. But on the same times, it's a question of passion, of vocation. So you can't separate that from yourself. I am Music is my religion. So even if it's difficult actually, I think if you want to stay okay with yourself, do what you are made for. So, but on the same time, actually, music is changing, even in his way of listening, sending. I'm from a generation who has a lot of CDs. I'm still listening to LP in vinyl, and so on. I like to go to live concerts, to live music. So I'm not all the time diving into the streaming platforms. That represents a small part in my act of listening music. So yes, it's difficult to be a musician today, but it's not impossible. It's just that you have to be maybe more creative than before, because also you have to embrace more than one part. You are not only a musician. You have also to be a businesswoman sometimes, a producer, a communication is very important. So a press mediator. So you have to think about many things in one time, and sometimes you are okay. That's enough. That's enough.